historical
Paul was
figure.
undeniably a
yes,
historical
but
figure.
not a
died,
contemporary of Jesus. You're wrong.
You're
wrong.
like
trust me, you're wrong. Why would you join a religion if you didn't want like super duper hard fast rules to keep you in line?
I strung a green extension cord around some rafters in my set. That like there's no roof; it's fly walls and stuff, and I hung myself. And
you hung yourself?
Yeah. Yeah, and it's still hard to think about the fact that like I would do something like that to myself, especially with kids.
Coming out to LA for the first time, I walked in the door of this hotel and was greeted by 30 lawyers in a 150-page document that said, "You're not going to tell anybody what happens here."
It's a war.
It is?
Yeah, dude. This industry that I'm in, I'm talking...
the industry.
What comes at you, what pulls at you, what tries to destroy your marriage, like it's...
Oh, I see.
It's all of it. It's real. It's real.
You know what's going to happen? People are going to be like, "Oh, yeah, he's like, this guy with everything in a movie star, like, whining about his job."
From you at
There's
all
no
right
winning.
now.
There's no. I shouldn't talk about this. My wife is going to stab me when I get home.
No, Alan Ritchson is the new name to know, the meteorically rising star of the 2020s, recently bursting into the mainstream with his frontman leading role as vigilante ex-military hero Jack Reacher in the massively popular show Reacher. He was Aquaman in the hit show Smallville in the early 2000s and was a villain in a Fast and Furious film. He played a role in the Hunger Games movies and was even one of the turtles in the live-action Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles movies. He's been married for 20 years, he's the father of 3 boys, and most importantly, he's a man of deep, deep Christian faith. He even has a YouTube channel called InstaChurch that has over 1 million subscribers. The video we have for you today, you'll have to see to believe, and we dive deep into so many topics like Alan boldly defending faith against Bill Maher, Alan unashamedly and literally exposing the dark secrets of Hollywood with real-life examples he's personally experienced, his attempt on his own life, and how God literally supernaturally saved him from that, and so much more. If you weren't a fan of him before, I promise you will be by the end of this video. This is Make Faith Famous. Thanks for joining us, and let's get into it. First with Alan's heated debate with Bill Maher about religion.
Yeah, just the fact.
I mean, the big...
They don't know their own religion. They haven't read the Bible. They talk about the Bible a lot. It's a long book. Some of it's boring.
But the problem that I have with most Christians today, and I talk about this openly a lot, is that it misses the point. I mean, you can get hung up in the weeds about document Q or whatever you want to talk about with where this stuff comes from, but the point is very simple. You've got somebody who claims to be the Messiah pointing the way towards a whole radically different new way to love. And that's through self-sacrificial care of your neighbor.
Very true.
And when you talk about just that, it's a really beautiful thing that a lot of other religions don't talk about, because you're talking about religions that talk about the way to salvation is through doing it over and over and over again and living 1 million lives, or finding your own self-elevation, through meditation or contemplation. But this is talking about admitting that we are flawed and admitting that there's a path towards joy that comes through self-service and self-sacrifice. And I like that.
Right. I'm totally down with that.
That's it.
Yeah. I just don't think he's God. I don't think there's such a thing as a God.
I guess we'll find out.
Yeah.
I guess we'll find out.
Well,
rock on. Like, I do. I'll name it, but... well,
that's kind of
But I know that's not for everybody.
But that's kind of like buying the insurance when you get a rental car. I mean, that's not a good reason. I'm not saying that's why you're doing it.
I've got an umbrella policy, so I'm like...
I'm not saying that's why you're doing it. But, and yeah, maybe you're right. I mean, I always say it in religious. I preach the gospel of I don't know. People make much too big of a deal about the difference between atheist and agnostic. Yeah. It really is the same thing.
Yeah, totally. Look, I just, there's I think there's good reasons. We don't have to get into it. I think there's good reasons, though. Like people that were very close to him died defending the fact that he was a historical figure and that what he said was true and that they believed he was a Messiah.
Are we talking about Jesus?
11 of his 12 apostles, yes.
Oh.
There's there are things that have happened historically that are verifiable that I think go to show that people that were very close to him very much believe this.
That's not historically verifiable. That he had disciples
that Paul lived and was a Roman. That's what I'm talking about. Like
Paul was not a disciple.
He died.
Saint Paul?
He had an interaction On the road to he
Okay.
He would argue that he was because he had a personal interaction with, but you and I, you as
okay, you're wrong.
You're wrong.
Like trust me, you're wrong. I got to give you the facts. These are facts. Jesus dies in 33 AD. Paul was writing in the 50s. He was Saul of Tarsus. Yes. He had a vision on the road to Damascus. It was a cross in the sky. He never met Jesus. And in fact, one of the things that's so iffy about the Gospels is that the Gospels, which were written 20 years after St. Paul was writing, know way more about Jesus than Paul
voice
does.
that he was talking to. So you have to believe in magic. You have to believe in magic for it to be true.
Great.
I accept that.
I accept it too.
I accept that you have to believe in magic. And I admit, I do believe in magic. The voice he was talking to said, "Why do you persecute me?" And he was trying to kill Christians.
And I love
this is Christ that he's talking about. So I believe that he did have an interaction, a personal interaction with the person that he died.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Defending.
All right. Great. And you know what? I love that. I don't have to agree with everybody on everything. I
feel the same way.
I love my magic. I love my magician brothers.
That's it. That's what it boils down to.
This quarter behind your ear.
Yeah, totally. But that's what it boils down to. And I admit, I believe that kind of magic is real.
And if it works for you, I'm thrilled.
Totally. But so did Paul.
No.
So you can't say that he wasn't a real historical figure. This
Paul
man,
was a historical figure.
Paul was undeniably a historical
figure.
And
not
he
a
died,
contemporary of Jesus.
Sort of.
Oh, I see. With the
people would argue this with him in his own day, of course. His own peers.
Not by our
not by those standards of apostleship, but I would say that he was because of that interaction.
So, what do you think about this exchange? Some of you out there really know your Bibles and your history, so it would be great to hear your perspectives in the comments below. Bill is very clearly anti-religious, and I think it takes a lot of guts for Alan here to come on to Bill's show, effectively going into a lion's den, right, and stand up to him, stand up for our faith, explain that there is a supernatural component to our world. And that's not the only time Alan dives into the supernatural. He actually made an attempt on his own life in his mid-30s, which God supernaturally saved him from. It's an incredible story, and he dives deep into that. But in order to understand how he got there, we have to understand what drove him to that point. So here he is recently on popular late-night show Jimmy Kimmel Live, which is seen by like millions of people weekly. And he is just blatantly exposing the lies and deception of Hollywood that took advantage of him when he was young. Like, I think he wasn't even 20 at the time. He auditioned for American Idol, in fact, and here he is in front of everyone, literally exposing how they took advantage of him. Check it out.
Coming out to LA for the first time, I walked in the door of this hotel and was greeted by 30 lawyers in a 150-page document that said, "You're not going to tell anybody what happens here."
Right.
So I signed that.
And, sure.
And they go, "Hey, why don't you go put your bags down in your room and come on down in your board shorts," something I didn't usually wear because I grew up without hair on my legs for a long time. I was a late bloomer. And they say, "Meet us down by the pool. There's like another model." I'd been modeling at the time, no big deal. Like, there's another model that will do like a story on you guys, you know, like how fun it is for the models to be at American Idol. I was like, oh my gosh, it's amazing, and like screen time and stuff. So within 10 minutes of being at the hotel in Los Angeles, I'm down at the pool in my board shorts, and they're like, "Why don't you sit in the hot tub? We'll ask you a couple questions." I was like, all right. So the producer's there asking questions, and I'm very studiously answering as best as I can to my ability. And they go, why don't we just show everybody how much fun it is to be an American Idol? Why don't you like push her in the pool? So I push her in the pool, you know? And so they're like, "Why don't you jump in?" And I was like, okay. And so I'm like splashing around the pool, having like the best time. I go to watch the show like everybody else in my hometown, right? We're watching the show. This is going to be so fun. On night 3, we had an assignment. Go write a song. That's something I do. That was my first love, was songwriting. They give you a couple words, keywords, so you know it's like made it in there. You didn't just walk in with a song. And I wrote my song in 2 seconds, and I see grown men crying in the hallway. I can't write a song, man. I'm like, what's your sound? Like, you want me to help you? So I help people write their songs.
Okay.
When I'm watching the show on night 3, on the songwriting night, they have Ryan Seacrest running around asking people where Alan and Tina or whoever the model was. Have you guys seen him? They're like, I don't, yeah. Have you guys seen Alan and whatever her face is? And it's like, nope. And then they cut to us in the pool splashing around like we're just climbing up. Like, oh, what the hell?
probably
I was helping people.
You were helping people.
Yeah, dude.
That is, you know what? That is unfair.
First of all, I think it's just incredibly creepy that they did this. Like, they put him in a swimsuit and everything. And of course, as an eager young man trying to make it, he obliged, signed non-disclosure papers and everything. And you can even sort of hear and feel a mixed reaction from the audience. It's like they were expecting to clap and laugh like usual, but and even Jimmy were sort of awkwardly stilted by hearing the story. I don't know. There were even some awes in there. And hey, if you've made it to this point of the video, I want to extend a huge thank you. Most people click out within the first 5 minutes, so I'm so happy that there are faith nerds like me and you out there enjoying this content and supporting this, what really is a movement. And we even have some Make Faith Famous hats that represent this movement and mission to amplify amazing people and testimonies like Alan's across the globe. I've been telling my wife that the moment I'll know this movement has quote-unquote made it is when I'm out walking the dog or buying groceries or something, and I see one of y'all out in public wearing one of these hats, and I'll recognize you by either the golden logo on the front or the Matthew 5:16 Bible verse on the back, and I'll just be so excited to see that one day soon, and I'm looking forward to it. Anyways, now in his adult life, there's a lot more he says about corrupt experiences he's had in Hollywood, like, how shall I say it, promiscuous women trying to tear his marriage apart. All the insanity of the industry does lead him to self-harm, and, well, I won't say much more, but God does meet him at his lowest point. Let's hear from the man himself.
And I was working on bigger films with bigger stars, and, and then realizing, not everybody that you work with cares that you're married. And, there's a lot of friction because some people would rather you not be married. And then you're like, maybe I shouldn't be married.
Right. Yeah.
It's very, it's a difficult place to be. And, so there was a lot of growing pains, for somebody who grew up very blue collar, being confronted with, starlets and, films and the press and what people so often, attribute to celebrity, like the red carpets and the picture, what I mean? There's like the glitz and glam of it all, which is not all it is at all. Not, it's a very small part of it.
Right.
And a part of it that doesn't matter. But, being confronted with that and going like, oh, there's this whole other side of life that I had no idea existed. And now I'm being exposed to it, but I'm also married and I've got young kids, and who am I? Did I jump the gun here? You have to.
Right. You start to second guess yourself.
Yeah, I'd be lying if I didn't say that. I've been very open with my wife about this, and
you were enticed.
There was sure. There's moments where like, I don't know if, I don't know if the life I chose is the life I want right now, and then you start, and then you feel a huge amount of guilt and shame for even thinking those thoughts, which, so there was, there was sort of that thing like under the cauldron a little bit. But then, bizarrely, for me, I had a very good year, like a very good year.
Wow.
But it was too much. I took on I write down my goals at the beginning of the year, put it on paper. Let me put it out into the world. I want to direct a film. I want to sell this script. I want to sell a manuscript for a book. I want to do, and everything that I ticked every box.
You were making it happen.
Yeah, dude, it was a good year. And, reap the rewards from that financially, and, but servicing all those monsters that I was creating was becoming too much. And so I had to force myself into this brainwave state for 9 months. I made myself manic to deal with this, so I've got identity issues
Still
of
dealing with that.
Sure. I mean,
Sure.
not that I was talking about it every day, but just knowing that there's something behind the veil there that's like, I'm not sure who I am or what my purpose is here in my marriage or in my life or career. And then I'm manic for far longer than I should be to service all these masters. And then I had the straw that I think broke the camel's back was I was confronted with a business partner who gave me an ultimatum, well into our business dealings together. Like if I didn't provide this quid pro quo relationship thing, that she was going to destroy my reputation and our businesses. She didn't care. She had so much money anyway. And, being confronted with this sense of like, well, I know I'm not perfect and I have issues. But when you do it all right, and this is where you end up anyway, in like a long drawn out legal battle, just trying to protect your reputation because you got somebody making these false, I mean, I had lawyers calling me up going, "You're dead meat, buddy." And I'm like, "Who is this?" And they're like, "We know that you've been buying houses with, Bitcoin, and you've been stealing money from the company, and you've been buying cars."
Jesus.
And I'm like, "What are you talking about? Like, I've never audit me then."
There's nothing worse than being innocent or not having done anything wrong
And people accusing
you of it.
Jesus is exactly right? Because that's exactly what happened to Jesus. Sorry for the interruption, but I just had to comment.
That's a terrible feeling.
This person looked me in the eye and said, "If you don't come up to my hotel room right now and give me what I want, I'm going to call TMZ and tell them that you sexually assaulted me, tried to rape me, and by the time you clear it up, everybody will already think that you're that, like it won't matter. The damage will be done." That to my face, that threat. And I was like, you're making a huge mistake. Like,
this is an insane thing to happen to him. This just shows the absolute abject depravity of this industry, the shamelessness, the sin that bubbles underneath the surface, and in many ways fuels the whole thing. When people say Hollywood is corrupt or evil or anti-Christian or dark, this is the kind of thing that they're talking about. If you're not a Christian in this world, it's so easy to see how you can get caught up in this stuff. But if you have the Holy Spirit, if you have that Constitution, then maybe God protects from it more often than not. I don't know.
That's not, I mean.
And you're feeling this.
Yeah,
you're
dude,
feeling the stress. You're feeling the anxiety.
Oh yeah, dude, all that, man. So, I flew home after that conversation, and I lawyered up, to protect myself, and thankfully, like nothing ever happened. Nothing came of it. But that coming out of that season of busyness and all that, the manic energy for far longer than we should ever have to sustain that kind of energy. This crisis of like faith in humanity, a little bit of uncertainty of like where I should be right now.
An
in my
identity
life.
crisis a little bit.
Yeah, it all, dude.
And you came to your wife and you told her honestly, this is what I'm feeling and this is what I'm thinking, and I don't want to ruin this marriage, but these are kind of what's...
I came to her and I said, I think it's better if I'm not here.
Really?
Yeah.
And what'd she say?
Please don't do anything crazy. It was a very real conversation.
So you were like here, meaning like if you weren't alive.
Yeah.
You were that bad. You were dark.
It was I could not pull myself out of it, because once I got settled down back in LA, after all of it, after all the dust settled, I was like, I couldn't get up in the morning. Like, the things that you talk about with depression, like I could, only wanted to sleep all the time. It felt so foreign to me. Somebody with like this zest for life and this energy that's, this drive, this work ethic, like it's insatiable. And to feel like I can't get out of bed. I didn't understand why I would want to anyway. And then feeling like now I'm just a burden to my family, that my kids are seeing me like this. I can't let them see me like this. I'm like this shell of myself, and they see me in bed all day. It would just be better if I wasn't here. And,
wow.
Yeah, man.
Because I know what that's like. I know it's like just waking up and going, I just want to go back to sleep. I just want to lie down.
Yeah.
I don't have enough energy for the day. And that's depression, huh?
Yeah.
And
yeah. But that depression is a red flag for something much deeper, which for me was about purpose. And I didn't know. So I've been open about this. I've talked about this publicly on my little channel, trying to help people who maybe have felt like this and don't understand it, hold on just a little longer. Because if you do hold on just a little longer and you felt like this, there is hope for you. There's hope for a better day where we can remember why we're here, remember who we are, and take time to find our purpose. And sometimes that means a big shift, sometimes a little shift. For me, it still sort of fit my understanding of the world, but I needed to make a choice about who I wanted to be and what that, the consequences of that would be in my outward life, and I didn't know that at the time. I couldn't speak to that at the time, but I went up in my attic. I had a big house with, second story that I turned into movie sets.
Right.
And I went up in this movie set that I'd shot in. It was still such a weird thing to think about, but, and I don't know why I went up there. It felt like the only place to do this, the best place to do this. I don't know. And I strung a green extension cord around some rafters in my set, that's like, there's no roof. It's fly walls and stuff. And I hung myself. And
you hung yourself.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's still hard to think about the fact that like I would do something like that to myself, especially with kids. But I now understand what it's like when people are like, I don't understand why they would kill themselves. And I'm like, I can tell you from experience, they thought they were giving the world a gift. That is the saddest lie that we could tell ourselves. But I thought that I was doing my family and my community a favor because I was such a mess mentally. Like nobody ever tells you that, like, when you get to the top, there's nothing there. There's nothing there. There's just more of that. If you want it, I had ground and scraped and fought to make movies and to make the things that I wanted to make and to sell books and sell scripts. And I was doing all those things. And then I get there and I'm like a broken shell of myself with this relationship that threatened to sort of like truly like wreck my life. And I had done nothing to deserve that. And, I'm like, what is life? Like, I'm so backwards.
Right, you thought everything that was going to make you happy didn't.
Yes.
Everything you wanted to do, you were doing, but you still weren't happy.
But I was, but I'm a victim. I'm a product, I should say, of these systems that we all survive in, which is, this sort of capitalist-driven, corporatocracy kind of driven way of merchandising and commercializing every thought and fear and moment that we have in our lives, and never giving us a chance to slow down. And when I was able to, I was on my way out, and I saw my kids, and I saw them grown up, and
you really saw that.
Yes.
In case it's not clear, this is the supernatural vision God gave him, and by on my way out, he means, as the attempt on his life was working. Then he saw all this in like a vision or dream state.
I did. And I saw them asking me, just like a mature grown adult would say, say something very calmly without emotion, like, please don't do this. It was such a startling image that, them saying, we need you, that I climbed up out of that. I pulled myself up and I got out of that. And
was it hard to get out of that?
I mean, thank God I work out, because if I didn't,
you wouldn't have the strength to
do it. But I did, and so I got up there, and
did you just get hysterical after that?
Yeah,
just like kind of lost your mind for a second.
Yeah, like, this is where I am. What is wrong? And this is after a good year. This is after making tons of money. This is after accomplishing all the goals. How can that be? Like, that's not something we talk about. That there's nothing there at the top. That, that life isn't about, Jim Carrey said it before. I hope everybody gets what they want and gets the riches that their hearts desire, so they realize that that's not what life is all about. That's not what will make you happy.
And here Alan starts to talk about how this whole ordeal, this whole identity crisis, existential crisis, drew him closer to God and faith, and even more than that, real, tangible, practical works to accompany it. Check this out. It's really inspiring.
Faith is a big part of it for me. Some people, I think, I almost envy people who feel like they're fine going through life without any thought of what's beyond,
Right.
If that works for you, then great.
I have to have faith in something.
I'm deeply conflicted, if not, because otherwise, like, I don't understand what the point of this. I mean, there's no way to reconcile the pain in the world without an ultimate sense of like hope and justice happening,
Right.
for myself and others. I mean, there's so many reasons why, but it also makes sense to me. It just makes sense, and it makes me want to be a better person. But I dove into that life and started reading everything I could, studying theology, trying to understand, like, is there a deeper meaning and purpose here? And how does that have a real impact on my life? And for me, it's about other-centeredness, which is not something I'd ever thought of before. Like, I was so ambitious, still so ambitious, still such a product of my industrial era style education that's like, you go be a good worker and that's what you're contributing to society, a good thing. And
right.
to turn around and say, like, actually, rejecting a lot of those ideas and not making the material accumulation that we strive for the most important thing in our lives, and finding ways to think about other people and give back to that is actually a more fulfilling and purposeful and eternal kind of way of thinking, that maybe I'll do that. And so, you know,
altruism,
there was like
a big part of it.
Yeah.
You know?
So there was a simplification in life, like, so, yeah, got rid of a house, sold all my fancy cars, you know, that I was accumulating and loved. And it was less about that and more about, like, how can I find a way to get involved in community, involved in other people's lives in a meaningful way, impact the world through like effective charities, or, you know, like, just how can
and that changed you.
Oh yeah. I mean, is that not something you can do forever and not? I mean, scientific studies have proven that kind of altruism actually has a true, meaningful impact on our state of well-being.
Yeah.
That there is nobody who can give of themselves purely and not feel better because of it. How is that not something that can eternally rejuvenate us, like forever and ever? Like, people talk about, like, oh, I wouldn't want to go to heaven because I would just get bored or whatever. It'd be so boring. It's like, no, that idea of heaven is a world where everybody's giving of themselves, and that cycle of love is it's something that continues to fill us up as we give it away. It's this almost paradoxical kind of, yes, it's this beautiful cycle that never ends, you know, and that feels good. And you can start that now. And that's what the whole message is all about, I think, you know.
Wow, I love that. And here is where we, in our story here, Alan's life story, start to see the Alan Ritchson that we know today. This kind of brings us up to present moment with InstaChurch and Alan's whole deal right now. Other-centeredness, selflessness, eternal rejuvenation, his understanding and presentation of Christian theology. It's really refreshing, really uplifting, and comes from a genuine place of lived experience. He's been to the highest of highs. He's seen hell, the lowest of lows, in many ways, in many contexts. And this whole journey has shaped him into the 40-something-year-old man he is. And just, wow, I don't know about you, but I really sense God's hand over this man's life. And maybe I'm just hyping up another celebrity too much. But this type of story is rare. The way he articulates all this is rare. And I'm just so glad that I get to cover this, and I hope you find it as inspiring to your faith as I do. So charging on here, there's a joke that sometimes people say online that instead of reacher, Alan should be preacher, because he actually does give these little mini sermons online, and they have a huge impact on people. And this next clip is him talking a bit about the origins of that and how once he started really living for Christ, his life completely changed.
And suddenly, I'm not thinking about my career. And when I stop thinking about my career and thinking about how I can advance myself, it exploded, dude. It exploded. I swear to God, I started doing these little InstaChurch videos that were more for me because they ground me. We all know that when you teach a subject is when you truly know if you understand it, and it helps you cement your understanding of it. And so for me, it's a practice of like, do I know this subject? Does it make sense to me? Can I explain it to somebody? And also sharing ideas that I think are fun to talk about that nobody does because they're not commercial. But I started doing that. And I told my wife before I posted the first video, I said, I want to make sure you're okay with me never working again in the business. Like if I have to be a plumber or something to make ends meet, because I have a feeling if I start posting these videos, people are going to think I'm some kind of nut job and I'm never going to work again. And she's like, I'm with you, you know, and like, this is you being honest and authentic. And I like what you have to say and go for it. You know, and so I had her support and I was like, all right, I'm never going to work again. and it was entering this space through that honest, authentic place of like, of eschewing an identity that was wrapped in career, that then the career takes off. It's the most bizarre thing.
All right, if you made it to this point, words can't even express my gratitude. Seriously. Like, you are one of the Make Faith Famous hardcore fans, and I wish I could personally thank you because this was a long video. So how about this? If you've made it to this point, drop me a comment in the comment section, any comment you want, but put God bless Make Faith Famous somewhere in there, and I'll know you're one of the greats, and I'll make sure to respond to you. Just a bit of community building over here, right? All right. And as a special treat, let's end this video with some clips of Alan exposing more of his abuse at the hands of Hollywood, followed by some powerful scripture reading by Alan himself. How's that sound? All right. God bless you. God bless your friends and families. I'm praying for you. Please pray for me. Don't forget to share this video. And thank you for helping make faith famous. Enjoy.
What people don't know, and I can say it now because I'm done with that set of movies and they've been out, whatever. That Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles was like the worst production experience I've ever had. It made me hate life so much.
Wow. Yeah,
So
I wanted
much.
to get into that because
I hated life on that show. They were so bad to us. And they broke
Really?
so many promises.
Right.
Like so we would wrap one day, right? It was a long day. And they have this, we realized the problem with this like animated contract. It was a different kind of deal that we made. It's like never been done before. It's new ground. And so they had all these loopholes, we realized after the fact, where they didn't have to pay us for anything extra. Meal penalties, lunch, overtime, nothing. So we're this group of 4, an island of just ripe for abuse, right? And the crew was wrapping out. We were shooting in Brooklyn one day and had a long ride back to Manhattan where everybody was staying. And they wouldn't let us in the cars to go home. So the Turtles, they wouldn't let us in the cars to go home.
What do you mean?
They wanted to get the crew out of there to get them off the clock. Because if they stayed, they had to pay them.
Right.
If we stayed, they don't. And the freaking studio that we were shooting in locks the doors because they were like, we're closing up for the night. We had a cleaning crew coming in. Like, it's done. It's security here. And so we're in the parking lot sitting on our backpacks in an empty parking lot because the rest of the crew had driven. Anybody who needed to be shuttled was being shuttled. And they're like, producer said you can't get in yet. So we sat there. I'm calling my team in LA, like, they won't give us a ride home. What the kind of production is this? Like, get us home. We shot for 14 hours today. I want to go home. 3 rides come around because they go back and forth and back and forth, like bunches of vans. And finally they're like, so we got everything, we guys glowed up. And I'm like, what is this? And you tell the producers about it. They're like, yeah, okay, well, we're, sorry about that. That's not how it was supposed to go down.
Who was making the call on that though? If it's not the producers, because you.
Who do you think? The people who write the checks.
Yeah.
So,
which is the producers.
Yeah. You know what's going to happen? People are going to be like, oh, yeah, he's like, oh, this guy with everything in a movie star whining about his job. I'm like, I'm going in to clean the toilets again. And he's like, well,
I don't hear that from you at all.
There's no
right
winning.
now.
There's no I
don't
shouldn't
hear
talk about this. My wife is going to stab me when I get home.
No, you're
But memorization, I think, is something that we don't take seriously enough. Maybe I'll just speak for myself. It's something that I think is one of the more important aspects of our spiritual walk, and I think we take for granted the difference that it can make. Memorizing scripture, really tattooing it on our heart, can shape the way that our inner dialogue works throughout the day, and it can combat all the messages that are coming in that are counter to a kingdom call, to the dialogue that God would delight in. I mean, we are literally at war with the messaging that we receive. And this is one of the best ways that we can combat it. So I challenge us to start memorizing scripture. And one of my favorites, one of the first ones that I memorized was Isaiah 1, 18 through 20, because I think it so perfectly encapsulated, at least it encapsulates where I was on my journey, but where we need to begin, right? I mean, where we can begin. It's this... I sort of picture like if my kids are having a temper tantrum and they're swinging and they're mad and I've kind of got my hand on the forehead and they're never going to reach me, and it's like, when you're winded and tired, when you've had enough, let's settle this, and that's really how it begins. Come now, let's settle this, says the Lord. I was there. That's where I was. I was so fatigued from fighting what God really was calling me to. And I heard him say, come now, let's settle this once and for all, right? It's this declaration of who we are, which we talked about earlier, recognizing our own sin. Though your sins are like scarlet, they should be white as snow. Though red like crimson, I'll make them white as wool. This impossible transformation without the help of God. If you're willing and obey, you'll have plenty to eat. If you resist and rebel, you'll be devoured by the sword. Like, you will fall to your desires, the mouth of the Lord has spoken. There's declarations, there's promises that offer hope, and there's a rather foreboding warning that we like to sort of avoid listening to. It just so perfectly encapsulates where we often are, what we have to hope in, and why we should choose holiness and righteousness and obedience. So I would suggest Isaiah 1:18-20 this week. Write it on your heart and see where it leads you.
I love that. Maybe we could even challenge to doing 100 push-ups while memorizing Isaiah 1:18-20.
Put the Bible right under your face.